Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Winger's debut album that came out on the 10th of August 1988, so it's 35 years old today. So this is a classic of the hair metal, pop metal, glam metal era, although I think it's got more depth. The band had more depth to them than people probably realised. So Winger were kind of, I suppose Kit Winger kind of did demos and teamed up with Red Beach. Those demos got the deal, and then they found Rob Morgenstein and I guess Paul Taylor he knew from his time in Alice Cooper, Kit Winger. So the band came together more as a studio thing. They won't have played live as a band, I imagine, until they took this out on the road. But they were all like crack players. So obviously Rob Morgenstein had been in the Dixie Dregs. Quite unusual, a guy like that going for sort of this kind of music, but I guess he thought he could have a bit more commercial success. Kit Winger obviously played with Alice Cooper. Red Beach had been a session player in New York. Paul Taylor played with Alice Cooper. And Paul Taylor like the sort of perfect thing with the rhythm guitar, keyboards when they needed it. Produced by Beau Hill. So Beau Hill at this point has got a reputation for doing debut albums of bands because he's seen it as on the back of Rats Out of the Cellar. He's seen as a producer who can take a band in its fledgling stage and make a great sounding record. And I think this record, the performances are really, really good because they're basically crack players. So I imagine Beau had a pretty easy time of this. I actually think he got 5%. So Winger had 12% royalty rate on this album and Beau Hill took 5%. So, he took a big cut. If you look on the front cover, it actually says Sahara, and that's what they were going to call the band on the artwork. And then there was a band called that, so they changed it to Winger. It's quite strange that you can still see that on the artwork. It's recorded at Lattice Studios in New York City. I'm guessing that's a pretty high-end studio. It's got a high-end sound. Probably quite a bit of money spent on this. So what's it like? So it opens with Madeleine, 3 minutes 44. This is great. It's got opens with what's called a Nashville tuning. I'm not sure what that is. I think I'm not sure what guitar Red Beach is playing, but the tracked acoustic and it's kind of clean. I think really cool. Then it comes in with a cool, I think it's in F sharp, the riffage, with a cool red line. I think what you notice about listening to it is actually pretty heavy. But it's kind of got a wall of sound. So the vocals are favoured. The drum sound is very bombastic, the snare. And then the other instrumentation's kind of forming this block. But this sort of accusation of Winger that it's kind of light, there's a lot more balls on this. Great vocal by Kip, great chorus. Really cool solo on Reb. My only criticism on this album is, and it's typical of the time, I think the solos are mixed too low. You can hear them, but you're kind of having to tune in rather than it being bold. But I think that's one of the things that happened with radio style mixes, At this time, they're wanting to attract the widest audience possible, and the guitar solo is not the way to do that. So you often hear on albums at this time, sometimes the solos are just mixed that bit lower, so they're not splitting the speakers. It's just one of those things. But yeah, it's a great track. Next track, Hungry. This is maybe my favourite track on the album. So this starts off with a really cool string arrangement, which I'm guessing could be real strings. Maybe it's a Fairlight, I don't know, but it's got a really good sound, possibly arranged by Kit because he's trained that way. Really, very bombastic. It's got a typical Winger riff on the bridge. It's a kind of dun 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 dun, dun kind of staccato single note thing. It's a real Winger trademark. It's got an epic chorus, epic riff by Reb. After the solo, when it breaks down and goes back to the riff, you can hear the sort of unusual guitar sound that Reb's got on this album. It's kind of quite squelchy, quite high gain. He used Kitty Hawk amps at the time. Don't know what happened to that brand, whether they're on this album, but I think he does use them on this. He was the first artist in rock as well. I knew to use a Suhr guitar, so he had a Pensa Suhr when Rudy Pensa made those. Suhr made them out of the Rudy Pence's shop when they combined. So the only other high-end artist was Mark Knopfler, I think. But obviously everyone's got a bloody Suhr now. But Red Beach, he had a wood Pensa Suhr, wood finish. again, that's probably from his session background. He probably needed a really high-end guitar that would play in tune all over the neck, which an off-the-peg one maybe wouldn't, even if you set it up well. Yeah, a great track, and it breaks down into feedback at the end. Really cool. But yeah, I think like when you hear Reb's rhythm guitar on its own, you realise how the guitar's kind of, it's not buried in the mix, but it's kind of welded into this whole. I mean, the drums are cool on this album. They are a little bombastic, but it's a big sounding record. It is heavy in that respect. It's almost cinematic in its scope. Then you've got that, probably the track, next track is probably the track that undoes Winger. This is where the accusations of glam and pop metal come in, and people sidestep the progressive influence and the quality of the musicianship. So it's 17. Obviously, I really like the track, but the lyric, she's only 17. Daddy says she's too young, but she's old enough for me. Great solo by Reb on this. He really lets rip with his tapping. But I really like the track, but people seeing the video at the time with this lyric, with the big hair and stuff, it would create a perception that would undo the band later on. But great track. Then you got Without the Nights. This is the kind of the ballad people don't remember as much on the album, because obviously they know the last track, Heading for a Heartbreak. This is a really cool track. Lovely solo by Reb on this with some slurring of the whammy, and there's a beautiful bit when the delay really catches the note. Really good. Shows Winger's ability to do a cool power ballad, with a good hook. I should just mention, forgot to mention, sorry, just going back to Madeline, it does that cheesy thing at the end. It goes up a tone, it does the key change, the Westlife key change, but it works. Sorry. And then side one finishes with a cover of Purple Haze. And I always quite like this. They put their own spin on it. Again, they kind of make it more staccato and put that Winger spin on it. Reb trades off with Dweezil Zappa, sort of left and right. I think Reb's on the right, Dweezil's on the left if you're facing the speakers. Obviously, I think Beau Hill produced My Guitar Wants to Kill Your Mama album. DeMartini plays on that, obviously, another connection. So that's why Dweezil comes in. But yeah, I quite like this, some quite good sort of effects on the vocals. I think, again, when they're trading off, you can really hear that the lead is just too buried. It's kind of, it's mixed down and washed in kind of reverb and delay, and it just needed to come up. But, a lot of people criticise this track, but I like it. Sorry, just looking, next track. So side two opened with State of Emergency. Lots of songs use the word emergency in rock. Heat have got one. Girls' School. Emergency, though, is a good word, because it's got 4 syllables. Emergency, yeah. Good for putting melodies too. So this is 3:37. I like this track. It's catchy. Got a kind of cheesy pre-solo bit in Lydian mode with a kind of typical chord 4 to chord 5, but over the chord 4 pedal tone. Classic Lydian thing, but it's a good tune. I like it. Again, it's really well produced. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's a nice outro solo on this by Reb. Yeah, and the guitar solo is cranked more on the outro. This is more how it should be. Next track, sorry, just looking, Time to Surrender. Yeah, this is 4 minutes to 10. This is another one of my favourite cuts on the album. I think you can hear a lot of Def Leppard influence on the vocals on this. Kip's doing a lot of hers, which he gets from Def Leppard. And obviously the Def Leppard production style is why these albums exist, really. Once Def Leppard hit big with Pyromania, this is sort of the type of recording and pop metal approach that you got. It's got a great riff by Reb, classic riff in the A minor key. Cool solo. And it's got a lot of it's got a slow gallop on this. There's a lot of power on the drums. Really cool. I just forgot to mention, I think on Emergency, the previous track, it's got a nice kind of proggy sort of drum bit at the end. But this is a great track, Time to Surrender. Then you got Poison Angels, probably along with the Purple Haze coming, my least favourite track on the album. But listening today, it's a catchy track. It's got a typical cock rock lyric. The typical watch out for women, they're bad. But it's up tempo actually. This is probably the most up tempo track on the album, and the album benefits from that. And it's got some cool soloing from Reb. It's just 3 minutes 24, so it's catchy. Next track's 3:35. It's Hanging On. So this has got a typical Van Halen type of riff, but it's kind of chicken picked on the G and B strings. It's catchy. I'm trying to remember the solo. Yeah, it's got a cool little arpeggio actually. Reb does doodle doodle doo, so he's kind of touching base with the what's going on in neoclassical fusion in his own way, just for a little bit in that. And then the final track's probably one of the standout cuts on the album's Family's 13 is Heading for a Heartbreak. So this is a big hit. It's a big power ballad, but it's good. The full version of it is really got a cool solo in the middle, and it's got an amazing outro solo by Red Beach. And I think Red Beach shows where he's kind of different. Obviously his whammy bars and his toe-handed tapping touch base with Van Halen and Vi, but his approach to tapping with his scalar approach and the thing he does where he kind of taps a note and he pulls the string with his ring finger on the next string. Don't know how he does it, so he gets these kind of runs. I say pull, but he kind of plucks it with his ring finger. Obviously, it was not his ring finger, but this finger, but on the different hand, on the strumming hand. But it's really cool, and his whammies, the way he kind of pulls up high whammies, and the way he slurs notes, and he has that thing where he'll kind of tap and like slur the whammy at the same time, so he's holding the whammy while tapping sometimes, and it comes out on this solo. And it's quite progressive, the end of the song, and it shows where the band will go on the next album a bit with more of that influence, So this is a great record. I mean, it's definitely a 9 out of 10. Like I say, it's got full on production, all the money's on your speakers on this. Like I say, at times the guitar needs to be louder. It's a little bombastic on the drums, but it's a good sounding record for the time, and the individual performances and the collective chemistry of the band's great. Like I say, Winger got done by the image and by what happened when there was the pop metal cull of 91, 92. They got kind of one of the bands that were targeted. Which was unfair, because if you're going to listen to their albums, there's they're better than that. Okay, so Winger's debut album, 35 years old today, great record. If you get the Rock Candy remaster, which I've got here, it's got a bonus track, Higher and Higher, and there's a track called Never as well, which are pretty cool. But I think they've picked the right tracks for this album. Okay, so thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you again. Thanks.